The laughter around the table began to fade when the groom pushed his chair back. The sound dragged across the marble, sharp and grating, like a blade scraping against bone. It cut through the wine-soaked chuckles, the snide smirks, the clinking of flutes raised in mockery. Her voice still echoed in the depths of my chest, cruel and light as if it didn't matter. I hope I never end up like him, single with a kid. The table erupted in laughter, my uncle slapping his knee, the sound and ugly punctuation to the cruelty in the air. Real women don't want used goods, my mother, God help her, chuckled into her champagne glass. I didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't move. My son's small, trusting hand was warm in mine, clenched beneath the table. He didn't understand, not yet, the harshness wrapped in every word thrown around us. But I did. Elijah the groom stood up. Tall, straight, an island of stillness among the storm of mockery. He moved around the table, deliberate, measured, like he had something to say that would shatter the moment. People turned, their eyes falling on him, then me. I felt her gaze before I saw it, wide, uneasy, her mouth still open, half-smirk still lingering on her lips. He stopped behind my chair, his hand heavy on my shoulder. Then, in a voice that sliced through the tension, he said, I think they should know something. A cold, ugly seed planted in my mind 2 months ago started to germinate, to swell in silence. My son, with innocent hands and crayons, had drawn a picture, 3 figures, one of me, one of him, and one of Elijah. That's me, that's you, and that's Daddy, he had said without a second thought. I'd laughed, dismissing it, pretending it was nothing. But I could feel the seed sprouting, turning in my gut, the silence between us growing more unbearable each day. Her change had been subtle at first, distant, then completely gone, all the while insisting nothing had happened. Just a relationship that grew apart. But people don't just grow apart like that. They rot in lies until their skin falls off, and you're left holding the bones. For years I'd held on, never confronting her, never accusing. Instead, I quietly bought a paternity test kit, not for me but for Elijah. I swapped his glass when he left it at the park, sent it off with my son's toothbrush, waiting for the truth to crawl to the surface. The results came days later, every second a burning reminder of what I already suspected. I watched her too. She'd put on makeup she'd never bothered with before. Elijah was always there, too attentive, always in his role, protective, paternal in ways that didn't sit right. But I said nothing. I didn't need the drama, I needed the truth. When the envelope came, I opened it alone. The numbers didn't lie. Elijah was my son's father. Not me. Never me. And yet, my son still looked at me with the same awe, the same trust, still reached for my hand. Blood didn't make us father and son. It was the mornings, the scraped knees, the midnight fevers. That night, she glowed, radiant in that ugly, triumphant way women do when they think they've won, when they think the past is too weak to rise. She didn't know I was sitting on the truth like a weapon, loaded and ready to explode. When Elijah placed his hand on my shoulder, I felt the air shift. It was almost gentle, almost regretful. I think they should know something, he said again. The table fell into a breathless silence. I'm his father. Elijah's voice was soft but precise, surgical in its delivery. Her face crumbled first, eyes wide with disbelief, mouth trembling before she tried to speak, to explain. But he turned to her, never blinking. You told me he knew. That it didn't matter. That it was taken care of. A gasp. Chair scraped back. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. I remained seated, unmoving, like a statue carved from quiet rage. The report, my truth, sat on the table between us. She wouldn't touch it. Didn't need to. I turned to Elijah. Thank you, I said, not for the confession but for the silence that would follow. I stood up, gathered my son into my arms. He was heavy with sleep, innocence still clinging to him like a shield. I didn't look at her. Didn't need to. She was already unraveling, breaking under the weight of her own lies. She stammered, still performing, still hoping for a moment of redemption. I didn't know how to tell you, she whispered, but I had no interest in her excuses anymore. At the head of the table, I turned to face every set of eyes in the room. My son has one father, I said, the one who raised him. Silence filled the room. Not even my mother spoke. I met Elijah's gaze and added, one man made him. The other gets to live with that. Then I turned, walking out, no hurry, no drama, just done. That night, my phone buzzed with messages from her. 3 calls. A text, please can we talk? I didn't answer. Instead, I sat in my apartment watching my son sleep, his breath steady in the quiet darkness. And in that moment I felt it, no anger, no sadness, just the clean emptiness of a space once filled with lies. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. And freedom, I learned, comes dressed in fire and ash. Let her burn. I already rebuilt. You don't need blood to be a father. Only absence to become a ghost.